Hello, hello. Welcome to a brand new episode of Brain Pickings XL, the special edition of our popular podcast for HR professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders. My name is Leslie, and I'm the founder of ZigZagHR. And every month we dive into a specific topic. And this month it's all about digitalization and HR tech. Every day during a whole month, I will take a deep dive into the brains of HR experts, thought leaders, challengers, and HR professionals to pick ideas, insights, best and next practices to inspire you and to support you in staying ahead of the curve. And because this is a special edition, well, we went to a special place, and that's why I'm hosting this podcast in Times More, a very inspirational hotspot in Brussels. And Christel Iris de Prins, she's the founder of this hidden gem, and she really understands what hospitality is all about. This podcast is brought to you in collaboration with SAP. Originally known for leadership and enterprise resource planning software, SAP has evolved to become a market leader in end-to-end enterprise application software, database, analytics, intelligent technologies, and experience management. And the topic we will tackle today in this podcast is employee experience. How to win the war for talent by giving your workforce the workspace they want, the tools they need, and the culture that they can celebrate. Instead of thinking of a traditional employee cycle, future-proof organizations really understand that it's more valuable and more effective to think of moments that matter and moments of impact. Also, be sure to read the white paper on this topic. My guest today is Léon Peeman. He's a senior customer solution advisor at SAP, and he's really passionate, according to him, about providing insights to potential customers, how SAP can support their strategic vision by delivering additional business capabilities to meet strategic priorities. Welcome, Léon.
Thank you.
Everything okay with you?
Absolutely.
Having a beautiful day?
It's a gorgeous day.
Okay, and the sun is shining, so everybody happy.
Everybody's happy.
Okay. So, Léon, human experience management reflects the next evolution of human capital management solutions with employee experience at the center of all HR processes. Can you tell us what is human experience management and how does SAP see this?
Absolutely. If we look at HR and we look at how HR developed, it used to be human resource management, where employees were resources which could easily be interchanged. You could envision it as taking somebody off the shelf and replacing somebody, and it was as easy as that. It evolved into human capital management, where suddenly employees started to represent a value. Capital knowledge that people possessed. If somebody would leave the organization, it would actually be considered a loss. The next step is human experience management, where we put the employee at the center of the organization. And if an employee is happy, it really impacts everything around it. It impacts the way you sell. It impacts the way you attract. It impacts the way you perform as a team, as an organization, towards your customers, towards your peers. It's really that all surrounding that.
Okay. So let's elaborate on employee experience. Why is it so fundamentally important to organizations?
It is the biggest differentiator. It used to be all about money, how much does something cost, the functions and features. But now it's all about experience, the experience that people receive. When you go to a certain store, why do you go there? Because of the treatment you get. Why do we come here? Because of the great service we receive. It's the same with organizations. It's not about the salary you earn anymore. It's not about the fringe benefits that you might get. It's the experience that an organization delivers to their employees. How well do you take care of your employees?
Yeah, be a caring employer.
Absolutely. And giving the employees the feeling of belonging. It used to be the buzzword, belong. But what does it actually mean? It means everything that an employee gets in contact with. It could be a piece of software. It could be the contact within HR. It could be a simple process. It's everything around that. And it starts from the moment of a candidate, when they start to look at your organization, how are you being perceived? And obviously, as an organization, you want to perceive and you have an idea of how you are represented in the market. And this is then where the experience gap starts to come. And it's the gap which needs to be filled. And this is what experience management does. It looks at, what do I want to be and what I am at this moment.
Okay. Now you engage with a lot of organizations, and I wonder where do they stand when it comes to employee experience? How mature are they in general, or maybe which kind of companies or which kind of sectors are pioneering at the moment?
It's a process, and if we look at our clients and our customers and in industries in general, you always have the front runners. People who early adapt into an idea or go for it, and then you have the people that sit back, wait and see, what's happening, where's this going. So it's across the whole spectrum. But if we look at it in total, even if you look at the front runners, they are still at the beginning because there's still so much ground that they can cover. And if we look at specific industries, it's more the industries that really focus on customers in general. So we have our telecoms, we have our financial institutions. They are really the front runners because they take that customer experience that they have and they transform it into employee experience, where the employee is basically the customer of HR.
Yeah. And do you think that those are the sectors that are being more disrupted than others as well? Because you mentioned telecom, you mentioned banking, maybe even insurance. Those are actually the sectors that are being more disrupted than others. No?
Absolutely. Yeah. And when we look at that, why are they being more disrupted? It's because of the new players in the field, the digitalization. If we look at the telecom providers, some of them offer TV. They are being disrupted. Their market is being disrupted by the people from Netflix, the people from Amazon, the people from Disney. That business model that they had doesn't exist anymore. They need to evolve, and they have evolved from that. If you look at banking has changed enormously. The online banking, what kind of services are offered there. We have Facebook, who's going into that area. It's those tech giants that have enormous capitals that want to do something with that and then just disrupt the whole market in the way they think, the way they act.
Okay. So they're kind of challenged a bit more to act faster, I guess.
They are already in that environment. So they understand that things need to change. They understand it from a customer perspective, and they transform that into the employee.
Okay, understand. Now, what was, according to you, then the main trigger for organizations that are working with it to start investing in employee experience? And how do you expect employee experience to evolve the upcoming years?
The main triggers for many organizations is the period that we have just gone through and actually are still in. The whole COVID
unfortunately.
The whole COVID disruption. Because it identified that the way we work and the way we treat our employees needs to be different. We cannot continue with this anymore. Expectations are different. Suddenly we were working from home. Now people have been working from home for more than a year. So the way as HR we interact with our employees, we deliver services and processes to them had to change and is changing. And the question is, how do we change? And where do we want to go to? And we need to deal with the world as it is today and not how we want it to be. So we need to have that baseline and take steps from there. And that is not easy for organizations. They struggle with that. We see that as well. But there are clear pathways of doing this.
Okay. Now, you just mentioned HR as well. And what is the role actually of HR when we talk about employee experience, and how can they maybe find allies within the company to make sure that the employee experience gets the buy-in and the ownership and the stakeholders. Yeah.
HR actually used to be viewed as this stuffy part of the organization, really operational. There's lots of people there. You give a piece of paper to them, they do something. But this has actually completely changed over the recent years.
Yeah.
HR is the front runner within the organization in adapting new technologies and delivering services in a different way. So other parts of the organization are looking at HR because everybody's impacted by HR.
Yeah, true.
Employees are the customer of HR. So they experience the services, and in this way, they think of themselves and how can we change? And if we look at HR, HR is now really at the center of the organization. They are performing this strategic role, advising the C-level and steering the organization, attracting new talent, and providing this information on where the organization can go and how they get there. And in this way, HR also has a great insight into what is happening in other parts of the organization. If we look at employee experience, as employees, we work with systems. Where the systems come from, who maintains systems. On one side, with SaaS technology, it's the business that maintains software, but there's also still a part that sits with IT. So working with IT is a logic step in employee experience. And with IT, you cannot touch other areas like finance, where employees interact with a finance system. If you introduce a new finance system, there's the question, okay, how do we deal with this? What do employees want? What do they expect? And when they operate on a new screen, let's find out what employees think of this. Do we need something else? Does it need to be more intuitive? Are there fields that are duplicated, that you need to manually enter information from one into the other? If we know that, then we can do something about that to make it more productive and efficient and give employees overall a better experience.
And make it frictionless.
Absolutely.
Actually. So, but I hear you say that it's important to find out what employees are thinking. So it means that we have to listen more. Maybe that wasn't always the case some years ago, that we didn't always, talking about HR, listen, but thought we had a great solution and just offered it because we thought it would be great for them. Now, what I hear you say is we really need to engage with them, listen to them, and make sure that it is according to how they want it. Fast, fun, easy, maybe, or frictionless.
Absolutely. The way people deal with information, and it wasn't that we were bad as HR at listening to people, and we understood what was happening, and we were fantastic in delivering dashboards and insights, and this is how the organization thinks. But there was no added value in that. The added value is in the actions that one takes. So if we listen to employees and we understand what they're saying and we take actions upon that, we communicate that back in closing that loop.
Very important.
It's the most important. And again, listening after that, understanding, taking the actions. It's the vicious circle.
It's kind of a loop, and indeed that you.
It's closing the loop.
And it keeps on going. It's kind of a never-ending story. You have to listen, feedback, listen, and all right.
Therefore, employee experience and experience management in general is not an action. It's not just an action. It's actually, it should be ingrained in the culture of the organization. And therefore, it's not something that you just do now. It's a continuous effort. And it is an effort. It takes effort. And it takes certain type profiles, people with a psychological background. Because if you do not ask the right questions, you do not get the right answers.
No, that's true. Now, implementing employee experience is, of course, a huge transformation process. Now, what are, according to you, then the biggest challenges? Is it more about the people side? Is it more about the technology? Is it more about the culture? So what's the biggest hurdle there, or the biggest challenge? And how would you advise them to start? What could be the first thing that they could do?
There's a couple of elements that you mentioned there. One is obviously the culture. It is a culture. Experience management, feedback needs to be within the organization.
Ingrained, as
it
you
needs to be ingrained within the organization. So that's one thing. The other thing is that you need to understand where you are. And you can only do that by baselining, asking the questions and finding out where we are now. Yes, we might have the ID, and from C-suite, they might think we're way further than we actually are, than employees actually experience. And finding that out and knowing what that experience gap is will give you the pathway ahead and will actually give you the business case of making the investments that you need to make.
Okay.
And once you start doing that, go back, listen again, understand what's being said, take the necessary actions, communicate it. Because if people feel that they're being listened to, they're much more likely to, again, provide feedback. What is also massively important is that we do not try to create an experience that fits everyone. If we start to do that, we actually deliver an experience which is bad and which doesn't serve anyone. So also when asking questions, and this is what certain organizations ask me, how do we deal with survey fatigue? Just by not asking everybody the same questions.
Sounds so simple, but we don't do it.
Define your target group. So you can, a lot of organizations, they do employee engagement surveys every year, every 2 years. Information comes out of that. Use that information, know your audience, know your target groups, define your target groups, and then starts to hone in that group, in their needs, and make those steps. Don't try to do everything at once. Look at those moments that matter. And sometimes it means that you do not have to do anything about a process because people are happy with how it runs. It's fine. If you do more, it doesn't have a big impact. If you do less, perhaps. So it's fine. It's making that moment count. If I do this and I touch your life in that way from a candidate perspective, for instance, adding a chatbot, artificial intelligence, which if I give my permission, what my location is, and I get offered jobs around me, how great is that? I do not have to look for it. I just get it. It makes an impact. It could be as simple as that. Another example is it doesn't even have to be a system. Employees move from one location to the next, move house, buy 150 postcards and a stamp, and welcome to the new house. The impact that it has is huge. The value that it costs, not a lot.
That's true.
So the cost benefit really outweighs that.
And that's kind of a moment that matters not in the professional life, but in the personal life, and it affects the person in the professional, as you nice example. Okay, so maybe to end this podcast then, Léon, how does SAP help clients in their journey?
There's several ways how SAP helps. First of all, we listen to our customers. We understand their needs due to, we've been in the business for 50 years in different industries. We know the processes. We understand how organizations operate. But on top of that, we can also help them in the experience management area. 2 years ago, we acquired Qualtrics. It's the global market leading employee experience management solutions, which covers customer experience, employee experience, brand experience, and product experience. So that's the only solution that does that. And this solution provides organizations with the insight. It's not an empty box. It comes with predefined templates. As organizations, you can use those templates as a starting point. You can further define them to your needs. You can create dashboards on top of the ones that are delivered out of the box. to give you those insights. On top of that, the beauty of Qualtrics is that it also provides you with actions. So you can close that loop, that feedback loop.
Yeah.
What else are we doing? As a software provider, solution provider, we look at our portfolio and we know we have different solutions in there. From an experience perspective, we also have WorkZone. WorkZone is the unified user experience. What does it mean? It's the place where all of the solutions come together. As a user, I do not have to go to solution A or B or C. I access it all from this one screen, and it's a personalized screen.
Yeah,
I have a personalized inbox there from the different solutions. It might be that I'm in finance. I can put dashboards on there. I can get the orders in there. I can have my HR data on there because, I might be in finance, but I'm an employee as well.
Yeah.
So from SuccessFactors, I get my actions and my to-dos there. The beauty of this product is it's not only for SAP products. It also supports non-SAP products. So I can bring in, for instance, my ServiceNow and have that dashboard in there as well. It's a social collaboration platform. So I can communicate, I can exchange IDs, I can learn, and it's all from this one solution. So this is how we help our customers by providing them useful, meaningful tools which will enable them to run more simple and improve their people's lives.
Yeah, okay. So this is where the passion comes in that I mentioned in the intro, because you get really passionate when you talk about the offerings.
Absolutely.
It's nice
there's no substitute for experience.
Okay, so I didn't read that. There's no substitute for experience. I didn't see that. Well, that's a great t-shirt to wear for this podcast today. Thank you so much for this inspiring conversation. Do you have a final message or key learning or key takeaway that you want to share with people who are listening or watching at this moment?
Yeah, I touched upon it earlier. We do not design experiences or moments that matter for everyone. When you design it, take in mind that people are emotional beings. We do not always act in a rational way.
No, certainly don't.
Put yourself in the place of the other person. So when designing a moment that matters, an experience, work with personas and live that journey through the eyes of that persona. Yeah. What does that persona do? What is step A? What do they go next? What might they think? What might they feel? Because if I do it from my perspective, I might love this screen, but if I show you that screen, you might be completely frustrated. Yeah. So work with target audience and design moments that matter for those groups of people. Okay. So you have to kind of get inside of their head, like I'm doing at the moment. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. And maybe even get inside of their hearts. Winning the mind and the heart. Oh, that's nice. This is what brings you further. Yeah, absolutely agree. Thank you very much for this really interesting podcast, Léon. Thank you for letting me dive inside your brains. With pleasure. Thank you very much for listening and for watching. This was yet another episode of our ZigZagHR podcast in collaboration with SAP. If you're interested to learn more about human experience management and employee experience, be sure to tune in again, because we will have some interesting conversations with HR professionals from Daikin, Proximus, and TVH. And of course, as I end every podcast, the most important message that you should never, ever, ever, ever forget. It's a great time to be in HR. Bye-bye.